yeah.
And we're still to enter the main slum areas. So more
So where would the main slum areas be? Which part?
This is if you see the rightmost areas with a lot of watery, yeah, this part.
Ah, right.
So if you go to the images over there, you will find uh, down there, yeah, yeah, narrower roads.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, this is the slum areas.
Yeah, Brenna's actually writing up a blog post that's going out today. Is it today, Brenna? Okay. Yeah, I don't want to throw a spanner in the works, but if not this blog post, then yeah, maybe in the next one we can definitely mention this. Yeah, so the idea of this session is that once you've got imagery like this, and you guys can already start if you've got dense imagery like has been captured in Bangladesh, we want to show you how to be able to actually download point data. And this is the fruits of your labor, basically. You put in this hard work collecting imagery, and we want to help you out also by giving you access to data that would otherwise take a long time to capture manually. And that's both traffic sign data, if you're interested in that, maybe mapping some of the, I don't know how many of these roads even have speed limits or traffic signs that would help, but if they do, then that's maybe some useful data. And then the point features as well. So if there's things like manholes, if you're mapping things like where particular houses might get flooded, there might be some point features there that help with that. So things like, I believe water valves is a point feature. So that might be something you want to have a look through and see if you can download. And so the method to do that is through Mapillary for organizations. And it looks like, I mean, tell us if you're already a step ahead. You've got BD, Bangladesh, Humanitarian, Open. What's the other O for?
Easier way, that's both.
BHUT.
Yeah.
What's the acronym stand for again? Bangladesh Humanitarian
OpenStreetMap Operations Team.
Operations, that's the one I was missing. So you've already got your organization. So then the step there is to actually go into that organization. Let's pretend this is BD BHUT. And then create your shape if you haven't already for your area of interest.
Well, we have it.
You've got that, okay. So then all you need to do, if you haven't already done it, is to go into that shape.
You'll find it.
So I can't see it from here, but go into it on your end, and then
Dhaka map 2020 shape.
Yeah, I won't be able to see it because I'm not part of your organization, but this is just an example. Explore map data and then subscribe to map data and go all in. So this here, and then you'll be able to access everything, and we will make that available for you in your shape. So this is the steps here: adding people to the team, creating the shape, which you've already done, subscribing to the map data in the area. And then once we've granted that subscription, you want to request the download, and that will give you, that'll take a little while to generate depending on how big the area is, but then you'll be able to download all that data as a GeoJSON file. And the reason for that is that we can then load it into OpenStreetMap. And here I've loaded it in as a GeoJSON. So I've just gone to custom map data and copied the GeoJSON file in that I had. And then it's come up as these little pink circles. And so you can hover over them. You can even play around with this. Like this is street lights. You might not be interested in street lights. So you can filter this GeoGIS, for example, and play around with the data that you're interested in, and only look at a specific map feature if you're only specifically interested in one thing. But then you can just go through and like, let's say you're working on urban mobility and how safe it is to walk at night, you could go in and add all the street lights. So there's this utility pole there, utility pole there. Let's zoom in on this one. Support pole, utility pole. So we can go and click on one of these and see whether we can identify what it is and whether it's relevant. So that'll be this one here. I don't know if it's identified the others, but then you could go into the way, for example, and add another tag, and that would be lit equals yes, because you know that it's lit. And that would help people like try to create a map of how well lit the roads are. And for like urban safety, if this was a pedestrian road, it would be even more important. And then you can just go added lighting information. And then it's already got Mapillary as the source here. But for your projects, you might want to add map 2020 as a hashtag, and then we can track your results, and we'll be able to use that in our assessment of the top projects at the end of the campaign. So just to reiterate the steps, you'll want to create an organization, if you haven't already, create a shape, and then subscribe to map data in that shape. And you may as well subscribe to everything, because then we'll approve that. And then if you're not interested in traffic signs, that's okay, but at least you have access to it if you change your mind. And then you'll also have access to object detections and traffic sign features, so and point features. So all the objects that we identify and place in 3D space. And then you can just pull them into QGIS, as I said. So let's say something like this, you could pull into QGIS and then zoom to it. And we can help you through this, but you can see like there's all these different points here. And you can even filter by specific types if you're interested in only one set, and delete all the ones you're not interested in. So that is kind of the main aspect of Mapillary's derived data and how you'd be using it in OpenStreetMap. And then just make sure you have that hashtag for the change shape, because what will happen is we're going to go through OSM char, if you've seen that. I know Jeffrey and Torsif, you've probably seen this a million times, but what we'll do when we're analyzing how successful June is, we're going to go to the 1st of June to now.
Can I ask a question, Ed, at this time?
Yep, absolutely.
I just wanted to find out, like, you showed us like the data and how to download it, but is it done automatically by the software, and like how long does it take after like the upload for the data to be generated?
So the data is generated within a few hours of upload, and that varies just depending on how many people are uploading at once. But you can see right now the average would be about 5.27 hours for the images to be fully processed. And this is actually longer than usual. I think our average is usually, you can see 3.62 is usually the average.
Okay.
So if you know that you're going to be using the data, maybe upload the day before or in the morning, and then you can try and download the data in the afternoon.
Okay, this is interesting.
You can always check how long it will take for images to be processed by going to status.mapillary.com, and they'll give you the best estimate for the given day. Torsif, it's generally going to be quicker for you because Bangladesh wakes up earlier than Europe and North America. So you guys can upload and when only Australia and a few others are awake. But Jeffrey, when you wake up in Europe's going to be awake. When you're awake in Uganda, Europe's going to be awake, and the rest of Africa, and then North America shortly after that. So that's why it usually slows down a bit as the day goes on.
Okay.
But it's pretty quick. You don't have to wait too long.
Yeah.
So that is, that's the downloading map data. And then we'll just have a look, as I said, about the hashtags and with Mapillary as the source. So we can see Jeffrey's already, not Jeffrey, Enoch has already been making some edits, which is good. Speed limits, fantastic.
Okay.
And then once all of that is completed, we'll send out an email just with the final steps. So that's going to be a one-page PDF, just a basic information. So what was your project name? Who was the organization? What was the organization that was part of? Who were the participants? What were you trying to achieve? And then how you use mapping. So just outlining what you've already told us, and then how you're using OpenStreetMap. But also like what's going to happen after this. I think that's a big part of this. I know this was a really rushed June project. So how can we continue this afterwards? And I think the projects that can demonstrate ongoing sustainability and longevity of the project will be the ones that it makes a lot of sense to go to Heidelberg for. So yeah, we would love to choose all the projects, but unfortunately we can only choose 2. So we'll try to choose the 2 that look like they'll live on to the future, and then they'll be able to present to State of the Map Heidelberg, showing how they've actually built this from scratch and how they plan to sustain it.
Okay.
So that's pretty much it. Were there any other questions you guys had?
From my side, not yet. They always say it will come up later on.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think mine is just on the objects that like detected by Mapillary automatically from the data. Is there
that's
like
a good question.
a list of objects?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the list of objects you can find here, you can have a look through all of them. There's also a list on help.mapillary.com. So if you type in map features here, you'll see a list as well. If you go to that one, here's a list of all the features that Mapillary detects. And then there's also a list of traffic signs if you want that, which is available in our API. So we'll send out these links. That's a good question. I'll make a note to include that as well.
And I think just one more question. Do we have access to only the data that we have collected as part of MAP 2020, or we also have access to the data that's already existing? I mean, when we are trying to get data into OpenStreetMap.
Yeah, you'll have anything in your shape. So anything in that area of interest, whether it's imagery that you've collected in June or whether it's imagery you've collected a year ago, you can download all the data in that area. Okay,
and how big is there like what's the average size of the area? Like in terms of like size, how big should the area be? I know maybe this was discussed on the first call, so sorry if I'm taking it back, but I just wanted to know how big is the size?
That's all right. That's a really good question. We didn't give a specific area size. We just gave a broad, we showed a few examples, but I would say focus on an area no bigger than 25 square kilometers. That will enable you to be sure that you can map everything in that area. So if we go to like the shape creation process, when you're actually creating a shape, you'll be able to see
the size
the length of the road network at least.
Okay.
Well, this is a bad example. This one's huge. So this one, for example, is quite small, but if you chose a shape like this, you'd be able to complete everything in the area. And so that would be your goal, is to say, yeah, we chose a small area, but we've mapped the speed limits, we've mapped the trash, like the location of trash cans, we've mapped all the benches that Mapillary has detected, we've mapped all the turn restrictions, direction of travel, how many lanes there are. And so that would serve as an example of a really comprehensively mapped location. And then you could take the learnings from that and replicate it in other neighborhoods. So this one has, find out how much road data it has. Just a second. So when you create a new shape, for example, I was doing this again.
Yeah, I think this is like very, useful to know that the idea is to focus on a specific area and try to complete all the streets. Yeah, because like our first plan was just to try to cover very many big parts of the city, but focusing on the small area and mapping everything inside there. I think that's really good to know.
Yes, you can get an idea of how much is there already. So there's only 12.8 kilometers of Mapillary coverage. Total traffic signs is 277. So that's quite a bit of information to add, even though it's this small area. But I would do 25 square kilometers. So if you're creating, I don't know if you use QGIS much. Do you use QGIS much?
Yes, I use QGIS. Yes.
Yeah, so I would just create a grid of about 25 square kilometers, which is about, I've got it here somewhere, which is about half of this circle that you see here. So it's, well, yeah, actually it'd be a quarter. It'd be about this big.
Okay.
Because the radius of this is 25 square kilometers. But
okay.
Yeah, that would be absolute maximum. I would recommend something a lot smaller. Like I think Torsav had a good size. If you look at like what he's capturing Bangladesh, that looked like a decent size.
Okay.
We're having 36 square kilometers.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you reckon you'll be able to map that all during the challenge, as in not the imagery side, but the actual OpenStreetMap side?
Yeah, it will be done.
Okay.
Because we have within that area we have total roads being drawn over there in OpenStreetMap is 300 kilometers. So already we have 207 traffic signs over there in OpenStreetMap itself. So let's see. There have been 1.6 million objects there too.
How many?
1.6.
That's incredible. Yeah, well, let's have a look now. If we apply the June filter.
Could you share the link to the time slider? Yeah, this looks nice.
Yeah, definitely. It's fun to play around with, actually.
Yeah.
We can add that to here as well.
Not seen this before.
I'll add it to here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so if we zoom in to Bangladesh, you can kind of create nice little GIFs out of it. It's good if like you're trying to motivate the community in your area and just show them how much they've actually accomplished.
Okay.
And then you can play it on the left. Or you uploaded, I guess, all on one day, right? Or 2 days uploaded.
The team is working there. Still, they're collecting data today too. The main challenge they're facing is right now is we're having a bit thunder shower out here, so bit overcast conditions, And over here in Bangladesh, after when the day breaks in, it's overly crowded, so it's hard. So most of the cases, what we're doing, we're going early in the morning, so that we can have more clearer pictures out there.
You're doing all the right thing. It can be hard. Yeah. I remember when I was in Bangladesh for that wedding, when I saw you there, it was, I don't know how you guys do it. Very heavy traffic. I guess you need to be on a motorbike or a rickshaw or bicycle. This is excellent though. So yeah, really good start, guys. And I think Uganda has a lot of existing imagery as well from other campaigns. If you go to say Kampala.
Yeah, yes, it does. Although we have like some problem of like very poorly taken pictures, where the camera is not really facing the right direction.
Yeah, so that's why, like in this challenge, it's good if you can focus on an area, make sure the camera is mounted correctly, and then you know that, okay, the data that we've collected for this particular date range is good, and you can just work with that if you choose to, rather than have all the imagery. There's a lot around Mapillary. Some's really good, some's really bad, as you've probably seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other person on the call we had, have they dropped off?
Yeah, I saw Henry Serungi. I think he's from Uganda as well.
Okay. All right. Well, have good luck creating the download, the data download. Brenner and I are here to help if you have any issues, like trying to work out what's actually in the file or how to access it or how to manipulate it in QGIS. So do let us know, even if it's on the weekend, let us know, because there's only, as I said, like less than 2 weeks left. So it's a good way to make sure that this turns into OpenStreetMap data before the end of the timeline.
Okay.
All right, everyone, have a great day.
That's good to know. We'll definitely be reaching out.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeffrey. Have a great day, guys. We'll speak on Slack and Telegram and all the usual places.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.